Today our story is from South Korea. If you watch the series The Glory Season 2 on Netflix, you will know that the drama is based on a true story. The series is known as So-hee, but the real girl is named Jung. Jung was born in 1992, and in 2009 she was 17 years old, and she was studying in the first grade in the class 11. Let's talk a little about Jung. Jung lived an ideal life without problems. She grew up in a healthy environment and had a simple life. She was her parents' only child, so she was very spoiled, but this did not affect her academic level. She was always among the top 50 in the school, in addition to the fact that she was an artist and was preparing to enter an arts university. She was wealthy, and therefore her parents could pay for any university she would choose. She was very respectable. Her friends say that she had never said a dirty word in front of them before. She was so kind too, and she could not refuse any request for her help before. We talked briefly about Jung. December 2009. Jung's grade decided to take a trip for 2 days, 2 mornings, and 1 night. All the students were happy because, as you know, studying in Korea is very difficult, but one person was not happy. December 17th, 2009. The day before the school trip, Jung told her mother that she would not go on the school trip, but she did not tell her why. Jung was not the type to express his feelings and fears. December 18th, 2009. In the morning, Jung changed her mind and went on the trip. This building in front of you is the building in which the students stayed that night. They were not alone. There were other schools that sent their students on the trip, but each school had its own floor. Jung's school was on the 12th floor, and they were divided into 6 groups, and each group had a room. The room 1216, Jung's room with 4 of the girls. The groups were created by the teachers. Whenever the teacher saw a group of friends, he put them in the same room, and because Jung was spending all her time with those 4 girls, he put them in the same room. The girl on the screen was called Lim, and she was the leader of Jung's group. Each group had a leader. It was a cold night, and it was snowing outside, and suddenly at 1 a.m., someone fell from the 12th floor, and since it was the 12th floor, he must have died. Everyone went down to find out what had happened, and they found Jung lying on the ground. They called 119, and unfortunately, Jung would die in the ambulance. They called her parents, who were very shocked. They sent their daughter on a school trip to receive her body in the end. But the important question is, what happened that night? When the parents asked about what happened to their daughter, the answer was that Jung got drunk because of alcohol and fell from the balcony by herself, and because it is difficult to say that she slipped. The police suspected that Jung had committed. Jung's parents were shocked and said that their daughter had never shown any signs of depression before, and why exactly would she decide to commit on a school trip? A lot of things are really strange. After the medical autopsy, the shocks will increase one by one. They found Jung lying on her back, so her face should be completely healthy. But the strange thing is that her left eye was very swollen, and there were some scars in her lips as well. But the medical autopsy confirmed also that Jung's blood contained 0.7% of alcohol. And because the blood alcohol level allowed for driving in South Korea must be less than 0.5%, the police considered that Jung was truly drunk. But the doctor confirmed that the cuts and bruises on Jung's face were not the effects of the fall. After the police interrogated the students, they discovered strange things. They found that the 4 girls were not actually Jung's friends and did not even love her at all. But you may be wondering why Jung befriended girls of this type. Jung was very lonely and without friends because she was busy all the time between school and the arts academy. But one day, Lim, the leader of Jung's group on the trip, asked Jung to be her new friend, and because Jung was very nice, she did not refuse Lim, and they became friends. Lim was a girl with a bad temper. She would skip classes and force Jung and the other girls to miss the same classes as well. If Lim did not attend the class, the group should not attend either. Jung obeyed her orders because she was afraid of her, and she was even the group's maid who bought them food with her pocket money. Jung was not Lim's only victim. There were many girls who had the same experience. Whenever there was a fight at school, Lim would have to be one of the parties in it. She kinda had problems with girls who were prettier and richer than her only. She was very envious. After the investigation, the police would decide to question the 4 girls who were in room 1216, but it was the wrong way. What the police did was to interrogate the girls simultaneously instead of interrogating each one separately. Listen carefully to what they said. The girls said that that night they were playing a card game and that the loser had to drink a glass of beer. Jung continued to lose, which means that she continued to drink. She was drinking until she blacked out. At that time, Lim took Jung's phone and searched it to discover that Jung was talking bad about her with another girl. A fire burned in Lim's heart because Jung was talking about her behind her back. Then she pulled Jung by her hair and took her out of room 1216 and took her to room 1217, which had 6 other girls. Then she threw Jung on the couch and beat her, asking her why she had betrayed her. But since Jung was unconscious, Lim dragged her again to the bathroom to try to wake her up, then take her back to room 1216, according to the statements of the 4 girls. They let Jung rest for a while, and after she began to regain consciousness, she told them that she wanted to breathe some air in the balcony, but they remained in the room until they heard the sound of screaming and looked out of the balcony to see what everyone had seen that day. Unfortunately, the entire building did not have surveillance cameras. This is very dangerous because the building contained a lot of students from a group of schools, and because there are no surveillance cameras, the police will rely only on the words of witnesses. There is an important matter that I forgot to mention. The letter that occurred between Jung and her friend about Lim that day. Jung says in the letter, she is tired of Lim controlling her, and she is upset that she was forced to go out to buy beer with her own money because they were still minors. And she was very upset because she did not know where to buy beer from. And when she asked Lim, she answered that finding the beer was her responsibility, so she should manage on her own. This was the content of the message only. It was not insulting or cursing. She just expresses her angry feelings about Lim's actions. But it is clear that Lim's goal from the beginning was to make Jung drunk and then search her phone in the hope of finding something against her, so that she can hold it against Jung to take revenge on her. The police will begin interrogating the girls in room 1217 and why they did not intervene to break up the fight. They will say that they did not see any violence that required their intervention. They never saw Jung punching or slapping, and that they only saw Lim dragging Jung by the hair. The police concluded that something else happened after they left room 1217 and returned to room 1216, and that was the cause of the bruises on Jung's face. The girls also said that after Lim and Jung left the room, after a short period of time, Lim would come alone. Then the other girls would come after her, one by one, until the 4th girl came running to tell them that Lim had fallen from the balcony. Previously, they said that they heard screaming outside, and now they say that the 4th girl is the one who told them, but they did not tell the police that they went to the next room minutes before Jung's death. The evidence and statements are inconsistent with each other. There are many questions, but what is important is what happened in room 1216 after Lim and Jung returned to the room. Some of the boys, Jung's classmates, said, after they found Jung falling on the ground, she spoke and expressed her regret to her parents because she could not continue living this fucking life. But the doctors confirmed that it was impossible for someone who fell from the 12th floor to speak. Weeks later, the girls who were with Jung completely changed their statements, saying that after Jung drank a lot, she lost consciousness and Lim was just trying to wake her up, so she was pulling her hair. I have never seen anyone wake someone up by pulling his hair. This is strange. As I told you, there are no cameras in the building, and the police investigation is based only on witness statements, and the police cannot arrest anyone without evidence. Jung will be considered to have died by and Lim will be sentenced for physical assault on Jung. And because Lim was a minor and the quarrels are a normal thing between students, she will be sentenced to community service only, and here, Jung's case will be closed. 2023 Netflix releases the series The Glory, which tells the story of Jung. Her name in the series will be So-hee, but the end of the story in the series will not be the same as the end of the story in reality. In the series, Lim will go to prison in the end. Jung's parents decided that this was the perfect opportunity, with the fame that the series had gained, to reopen Jung's death case file. 14 years after her death, a documentary video will also be made that hosted the girls of room 1217, and then some new secrets will be revealed. When Lim took Jung to room 1217 and started hitting her, Jung was apologizing to her and asking for forgiveness, but Lim was telling her that the only way to make her forgive her is to die. There was also a boy who was in the room located below room 1216. He said that he was awake at the time playing video games when he heard the sound of loud laughter from the room above him, hysterical laughter, and after a few minutes, he would hear the sound of Jung falling. And because of the snow, there was a shoe print next to Jung's body. The problem is that they were not able to determine the direction of the shoe print. The strange thing is that Jung fell on her back, and after reenacting the fall by puppet several times, the police will conclude that perhaps Jung threw herself backwards, or that someone pushed her, or because Jung was drunk at the time, or she really committed because of her quarrel with Lim. We will also discover that the teachers had a major role in Jung's death. On the day of the trip, after the groups were created, Jung went to her teacher to ask him to change her group and that she did not want to stay with Lim and her friends, but the teacher exposed her in front of everyone when he asked about who wants to change the room with Jung. This happened in front of Lim and her friends. No student wanted to change the room with Jung because everyone was afraid of Lim. At that time, Lim felt insulted and that she was a hated girl. So she felt angry at Jung's behavior because it put her in a difficult situation. Then she wanted to take revenge on her that day in any way. Then we will also discover that the teachers that day were drinking with other students. And because the students were all minors, the teachers threatened the students not to tell the police that they were drinking, or that Jung asked the teachers to change her room. And indeed, no one said anything. You may be wondering why the documentary was with the girls of room 1217 and not the girls of room 1216 themselves. In fact, they could not find them. 2 of them changed their names, the 3rd was married, and the 4th had a child. They continued to live as if nothing had happened, and they all refused to talk in the documentary video. Jung's case is considered an unsolved case, but in reality, it is clear that Jung's death was caused by Lim and the other girls, and that the problem was the teachers who remained silent and the police who did not investigate well. Jung's parents are 1000% sure that Lim killed their daughter Jung. Either she pushed her or she asked her to kill herself. And they are still appealing to the students if there is anyone who knows something and still hasn't said it. Or if new evidence is found, they are ready to reopen the case again, and they are still waiting. Perhaps the conscience of one of the girls in room 1216 wakes up. Then she will tell them about what happened, even under the name of an unknown witness. What do you think of the story? And what do you think happened with Jung?